My name is Lucas Bacho. I'll just be reading my two poems from the book, so you can follow along if you want. Weather. Even in dreams, I do not speak to you. No name, no epithet. But you come to mind unbidden, like ants after rain, only now there is no rain. Emergent, like thought or an event, demanding attention. I gave you nothing, if not my attention. Across floor tile, molding, backsplash, windowsill. There you swarm to watch the clouds for any small sign. But I am outside, muddy-footed, shouting, rain, rain. Plain sight. I can't dance, I'd say, usually to myself. My life seemed a slow exit into the gloomy wings. An acting teacher once said of beginning, go before you know. Well, what about now? And now? And now? Then, with a straight stranger at a lesbian bar, the twinkling of an eye, the last trumpet. Our dance was a matter not of giving, but giving over, awaiting nothing, attending everything. Lightning flashed above the desert, and I saw him, then saw him not, and saw him again. Such was the way of men. It shall be you. It shall be you. But tonight I resisted. It was the night that greeted me, and I it, saying, you have followed me this far. Let me not hide my face. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name's Olivia Bell. I have two poems for you today. The first one is in the book. It's called Andalusia. I paid coins for coffee and toast with tomato jam. I was 18 and working on the olive farms, and it was the jewel of my life. The chic little Vespas puttered across cobblestone, where once horses stamped their hooves and flicked their ears. Iberian warblers settled in the corked oaks. Brown bears in the mountains lumbered back to their birthplace to breed, out of fidelity to the homeland, to some need they can't name. As you descend through an experience, it is like a bird plunging straight down towards water. What appears to be a bottom is a surface. My second poem is not in the book. It's called In the Morning. In the morning, the pathetic croon of the rooster, the voices of the frogs teeming over each other from the pond to our shared bed. When you lay perfectly still, I can see your body moving with your heartbeat, tiny electric currents pulsing through you. I think of each planet, a body at night, suspended above, Saturn in the sky like a pendulous yellowing pearl. Actually, we can't see it. And I don't know if pearls yellow over time, but I assume they must, the same way shells and teeth yellow, the same ones I grind and scatter in the chicken feed for calcium, for the strength of their eggshells. In a moment, the hens will call for me. I'll venture out into the dull light, their well-summer feathers gleaming under sheen of first sun. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Maisie Bilston, and the first poem that I'm reading is in the book. It's called The Consecration of Westminster Abbey on Holy Innocents' Day, 1065, and it's one section of a longer poem about London. A cold month, that of birth and death. We had woken early, and there was nothing reading in the black sky, nor in the later paler hours, nothing reading of good or ill, no thunder with sun breaking from the east. The song thrush slept stilly as the barn owl retired, and there came neither rain nor kindly snow. And the old Abbey dog lay lamely by the hen house, and the cold was in our bones at that time. Darkly we felt our way to morning prayer, passing the stables where the muddy horses stirred. For this was not a believing time, you understand. This was not an age of faith. Getting and tending were the work of our days, so that when the grave old abbot's brow grew stern, foretelling a dry season or flood, we trusted each with patience and watched the crop. We read Latin and watched the crop. And first there came the bright yellow hour of work, and then the weak church light following. The king we knew lay dying. After a dry winter, the fields were brown and the cows thin and restless. But at evening we returned to nothing changed, only the starling flown, and the heron gone low over the gray Thames. The horses slept again. And so we saved or ate as ones who knew we would live forever. Some mornings later the snow came, and the king died, and in the orchard the apple trees grew pale with frost. But we heeded little, owned and minded little, and in those days our ease still passed for temperance, as in seasons of plenty our fullness passed for faith. And then the second poem is a little shorter. It's called Western Motel, 1957, and it's after the painting by Edward Hopper. There's a green god with a small voice watching outside my window. He has come, I think, from the high hills and the sand dunes, come with a low drum and a green thumb to sprout red cactus flower at the front door, desert marigold, dryland lotus sweet beneath the sill. He wants me to part my hair on one side and put on a red dress. He belongs to the dipping cooper's hawk, the low-slung houses, sagebrush, to the magpie gone into the blown hills.
Stay, he says. He says, wait a while at a buzz of hummingbird air. Let him say, oh desert flower, grow outside a Western motel tonight. Let him call a young coyote to scream tonight with the voice of a boy child. I'll listen, but I'll not stay. Thank you.
My name is Sarkson. I'll be reading one poem. It's called Confession. Probably that because I find that I dislike most confessional poems inside tonight. I am an unreconstructed verb. I have turned and counter-turned, and yet I hope to turn again. That's why I come to this office of indirect misdirection. 4 times a week I pay the man so I can play at health. He should pay me for access to my permissions, for letting him play at turning this church piece to Burgess of 19. And look at you all oddly gathered, like a bouquet of dandelions, eager to hear all my foulest desires. How unusual, the clock's ticking. I am not your Mason pervert, gorging on reveries of ménage à trois acquis, etc. I see myself after a century of nervous breakdown, running on water and not falling in, light and svelte as a silhouette, and yet I hope to turn again. When old Anaximander did say, the earth is an ass, equidistant, suspended between 2 bales of hay, he meant I hope the ass undergoes parturition. He meant, fuck this gay earth, gay as in rejoicing. And yet I hope to turn again. The world of completion is the world of names. The flowers glow, the winds glow, the glass grows, the water glows. The mist is gold with proper names. Everything shimmers brightly in this world. Elegy holds no trace of its power to name is to end at this hour. And yet I hope to turn again, to name the name of that and this, the promise of analysis. And yet the more I say, the less I know. The less I know, the more I think I know. And yet I hope to turn again. I've tried mantras to alleviate the prideful insufficiency of language, the suffering of suffering. Shanti, shanti, shanti. I am nothing, I am nothing, I am nothing. And yet, here I am. And yet I hope to turn again, an ethicist bored on a cruise ship, reviews the equipage and crew. After a cursory look at the passengers too, he decides the right thing to do. Stand on the railing, splash in the deep blue. And yet I hope to turn again. Thumbs down, the dodo's modes, it's Olivia Bell. And faced with the dodo's conundrum, I felt like I could just fly, said James Mercer. Poor dodo, model of extinction. Why blame the bird for dying, getting shot instead of flying? And yet I hope to turn again. I was an ibis red on Euphrates bank, and flickering from the mud, wrestling black. Now I am the crown of feathers. I am the gentle mirror framed by
clawed feet hanging from the door. I am the speculum made from my.
and yet I hope to turn again to catalog the slips of the tongue, alphabetized, itemized list, verse length order, sorted by etymological origin, and yet I hope to turn again. Spade, I call you a spade. You rode into my life like a gang of rustlers. One of you shot the big iron from the hip, one of you bent the mouth organ, black and brown. We began flesh and blood, white. White was the dust eating our coats, coating our tense throats, and murder was unthinkable. But we ended two shadows hand over holster, black figures wrestling on an antique face. I call you a spade, and yet I hope to turn again. I want to be the sun. Wide like a footprint setting on the water. Instead, and I will never be the sun. And yet I hope to turn again. A poem memorized me when I was in younger. The air was hard though, and I fed on it, a silver apple of the wilted apple of the sun. And yet I hope to turn again. I am standing here, and the lightning is out there, and she says, your ass looks great in my underwear. My ass, we're underwear. This is how we've been. But don't imagine it's how we'll always be, because as always, I hope to turn again. I remember the eye, and it's changing colors on tiptoe, crossing the waters. Remember the eye turning from green to gold. Remember the sea and the sky and all the sky holds. And yet I hope to turn again, turn to the B section of the dictionary. Witness the bitter battle between butter and stuff. Beacons beckon to the battery of his box. Babel's builders broke the babbling building blocks. Rubble bubble black box of bickering, the pace of back and forth. Ugh. I have turned and counter-turned, and yet I hope to turn again. What is life without the hope of turning? The loose screw, the overwritten cage, the new leaf, our backs, our coats, the heel to the face, around the ship the fools post haste. What is life without the hope of turning, day by day and back the clock? And yet I hope to turn again, I suppose the clock will stop. The right-king fellow on the Wayfair couch there is giving me the stink out. Another session concluded, well conducted, after which I remain unrepentant, an unreconstructed pervert who has turned and counter-turned, and yet hopes to turn.
1 second. Give me 1 second. I'm having.
And I have 2 poems for you. The first is, in response to the story your mother told me about her accident, cutting firewood. My heart is an axe head. I swing to split a block of wood, and like my mother, cleave my shin in half. It's not blood, but the pressure that's most pronounced. This axe of mine is rusted and dirty and dragged in the spring muddy grass, leaving its red trail. My spilled blood is someone else's Hail Mary. What I want instead of prayers are the words inside your mouth, wet and yellow like teeth. I want to run my tongue along each word until I taste the nerve inside. I want something more than the way we brush past each other. I want you to touch me, make an honest man of me. Like these trees, barren and dormant. Who wrote that winter foliage is the prettiest? I don't care for pretty anymore.
This next one is in the book. It's in an oil rig in Houston, Galveston, spill and water, acid, foam, I bathed in toxic, chemically augmented and mutant, flesh-eating bacteria. The cheapest places to swim are beaches blood red with sand, are years of you layered onto things. Heavy and heatsick on the sofa, back when these places we talked about existed, our pasts do not exist anymore, and the argument is made, our mother's pasts never did. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Fabia. I won't be reading from the book, sadly, so you'll have to just really listen. Okay. Order of events. We pay $20 for mustard, pickles, and a good look at the moon. Make the pilgrimage to the greatest small town of America to read an essay we've read before. Annie Dillard and Anthony Bourdain have the same kind of hold on a generation. Art has to be cheap and available to everybody, like good bread from clouds in the sky. In the greatest small town in America, there is a flood and the school shuts down, and people are without a post office for 262 days. In the greatest small town in America, the corona will be visible for 1 minute and 30 seconds, and hotels charge $600 a night. Simone Bay says the turn to man for love is misdirected, proof of our inability to leave things unanswered, transference of a more real love for the beauty of the world, sea air, mountain lines, and bird song. What would she think of me? I direct myself towards love for man and accidentally find myself in Vermont, on the path of celestial celebration and once-in-a-lifetime cosmic crossing, holding a colander against my face to see the moons. Still, Annie Dillard says a partial eclipse is to a total eclipse what kissing a man is to marrying him. One precedes but does not equal the other. We go on a road trip before we see each other's kitchen, and I don't know which is supposed to precede or cannot equal the other. She defines phenomenology, and I learn I like disorder, illogic, and misdirection. Those 5 minutes of non-linearity, when afternoon turns to darkness, and mosquitoes, turns to birds chirping, turns to silent sound. My next one is refraction. My mother takes a 20-year hiatus from being an artist to raise daughters who know caraway for carom. 2001, I put a bomb in her mouth, say, "This is for your own good." When they find me, I'm in a field of mustard with a mirror to my chest, bouncing light into land. They try to catch me in action, point a camera to my face. The flash goes off. My desire, my design. It's all staged. I see my mother only in square, no orientation save a mirror or window pane. They bring me to the station and charge me with interference. I take the judgment and make it my project. Press record. Return home to wander halls, opening every door and walking into no room. My body, a handloom rug, going nowhere, belonging to none. In the morning, my landlord sends a plumber to shut off the water. I fill my sink with milk and a single string of saffron.
Hi, my name is Audrey. This first poem is not in the book. Marked, after Cain and Abel. Brother, your sheep still know the ground. I see them in my mind's eye, grazing the grass, their snouts nudging the earth that I once tilled and that you once led on. I remember how you fed each sheep, their heads turned towards you like sunflowers to the light, while I blew scars into the dirt. So when you brought the firstborn of your flock, one you spent night after night tending, giving it the largest share of scraps, I wondered how you could raise something for death. When we were children, you would mark the tree's bark with a knife. So it knows I'm here, you said, because it belongs to us. You took a piece of broken off bark and traced it on the palm of my hand. You said, this is my mark on you. Now look with it. Then the second poem is in the booklet. It's called After Christ in the House of His Parents by John F. Lay. I am the door, John 10:7. Yet again, the boy has injured himself with an exposed nail. He is their little elder, Joseph holding his child's cut palm, distraught Mary kneeling beside him. Young Joshua leans towards her, obedient and frozen while the stain transfers from palm to foot. In this pose, his hand raised, arm outstretched to the sunlight, he feels the heat of the cut. It's odd close, though he fears no scar in the house of his parents, where all wrongs are righted and all dirt has a place in the floor. The morning he climbs the hilltop with the cross, he had eaten a strand of hyssop's and drank a cup of sour wine, better, the soldier said, on an empty stomach. With every upward step, the earth slips away from him, like a cold, hard disc, until he feels buoyed by an invisible hand that both carries him forward and presses his body down. Ahead, the sun dangles, a shining orb he stares at to be blinded and, closing his eyes, to remember the blindness that's in it. He remembers the mud brick house with its roof of golden straw and the march his father saw cleaving the wooden tomb. The shavings that fell like little stars from the heavens to the earth, and his hand cut against the door his father was framing. Afterwards, to steady the wood, he remembers leaning all his weight on the sawhorse table and feeling the boards tremble as his father set the nails in. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jess. The two poems I'm going to be reading are not in the book, but they're from my collection, Minor Flood, which explores the relation between waste and queer life. And I'd like to thank my advisor, Emily Skillings. Trash bags sleep. Trash bags sleep, a liquid mess. Bucket of oil, dyed hair black. Dredge up more liquid from post-operational chests. Pleats and folds, look at graphemes, extra needles, surgical hand shed, rolling its cart down clavicle ramps. I heave my own inverse skin, luxuriate on strips of untrimmed night, cruise a breeze, drift above holes, shovels arbitrate in sand, negative mouths. Sleep expresses natural fluidity. I retch passively before I tumble down the drain. Logistical error. Trash bag doesn't care how it looks. No one is looking for it. Concave my chest over this world, vault for oxygen, tumbling in the heap, trying to forget solid dimension, muttering, producing more waste. Trash, never been so close to other trash bags, crushing my own trash body. Where should I fill out the forms? Tax exemptions for this dependency. Please make a trash bag bottom float. Or should we be mistaken for the open mouth that deflates the moon, wears its curled moisture as mask, or the chemist of night that smothers under each grate, black commas unlacing in wind? Am I not myself when I dribble oil down my sleeves, luminous rain blotting on paperwork? Or are you trying to forget what you can't say, as the desert unstitches itself from sand to reveal its second face? Oil riding up in all directions like small blades, the train of her trash bag dress deflowering the land as her plastic sweat flows over their heat maps. Oh, leaf, we dream ourselves dirty rafts, fluttering your dark face, trash bag circuit for our forgotten speech. Were we the water or your second face, the liquid tape I rustle in your mouth, and my interface or scarred horizon? Could you touch me, whistle a song for my projected night? Or was it our bodies stapled to the nose forward of wind when it kissed us, tumbling up until we wept into the other end? Unimaginable rain. So many deserts falling into Aaron's flower pots, our trash bag wings spreading holes in the light, descent any origin other than sky, our mantle of wind, forgetting all directions, we fling ourselves in to kiss each dream. And this is a sonnet called System Failure. Generated errors sputter out a pipe dream. I next to one of the faces you've sifted through your tight mesh of lilac wires, silicon stems, recycled substitutes you trick out of a magic hat. Rabbit replaced by rain, rain by numeric waste, then the final act, waste into your flipping face. Like a diorama added by a child's fudging paws, or a Rorschach, legs spread, one on each half of a cardboard door. Can't I meet you halfway in this chemical inversion? Acid leaks from stars, holes, mouths punched in ticker tape sky. Oh, kiss us through the system failure. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sam Bogutwenza, and my first poem is in the booklet. It's called Merge Table. It might be helpful to follow along. Merge Table. Tore shirts piled like dinner plates, strewn across the table. Lighters, die cuts, old school tapes, vinyl wrapped in clean film. The one you came to see is making sales and stacking green bills, plus a few blues. Turns out not everyone's frugal. You idle at the back of the line, biding your time, watching people buy just to sell when it's signed. Small rap shows are the best, lining up after they rap to say it's your fault I'm not dead. With your heart beating half out your chest, you're in the presence of an artist after all, you're small fish. 5 fins straining to swim upstream, desperate to be somebody, no clue who that person would be. Hopping from a small pond into the bottomless sea, caught in the deep, it's awkward so you cop an LP. Someone's fidgeting behind you so the convo is brief. Acknowledgement is all you wanted and the tickets were cheap. You turn to leave, delicately pivoting on sore feet. The door invites in the breeze scratches your cheek. It's that cold out. Coat checked invisible breath, backlit by streetlights and the glistening fresh white snow. You whisper one wish, it disperses into smoke. The second poem is not in the booklet, it's called What Monsters? What monsters? Broken bodies blur, blood blackens at the back of your brain. Body bags packed in piles or rows, white phosphorus floating down like snow, white as exposed bone. Death tolls measured in commas and zeros, bullet holes greet would-be heroes. Flesh crackles on the cadavers of the illiterate to the well-read, wells full of red, cisterns bubbling with blood raining down the foaming rivulets. Rocket fire overhead, 1,000 screaming eagles, well-funded and extremely legal. Ledgers overflowing with the names of the deceased. Who pays for each? We, fast asleep, slowly digesting in the belly of the beast. What monsters are they? What monsters are we? That's it.
Hi everyone, my name is Madeline Poole, and the 2 poems I am reading today aren't in the event. Apologies. The first poem I am reading today is titled Anna Wintour Addresses a Tearful TikTok Nation. So that I stay young, I crush baby teeth and snort them like cocaine. I salt spaghetti with tears, dehydrated in small clay containers. In my sleep, I pocket people's dreams like pears plucked ripe from a perfect green tree. I bite into their flesh and wipe drops of fruit juice from the corners of my mouth. The second poem I am reading today is titled Mock, Mock, Orange. In my mind today, I hear what I cannot say, Finally, one sound that rises over and over, and then the word that never escapes, the low, simmering hum of the unexpressed, is interrupted by your loud grunt, your limp body against mine. Do you understand? We don't know each other anymore. How can I speak? How can I rest when there is still the fake koi in the man-made pond, in this garden, swimming in circles? The water blazes orange. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Nathan Schwarz. In the spirit of spring, I'm giving you 2 poems about illness and grief. So, my apologies, and my thanks to Richard Deming and Peter. The first one is on page 30 in the booklet, Eulogy. At the mouth of his grave, 400 Jews weep to God. February's muddied grass runs thick with worms. They press their shovels down past him. They bury us both. They have us confused. My mother's tongue in a knot on a word I typed at the dinner table for her. Then my turn. I adjust my father, slur across the bad years. No mourner here has heard how I wrote this tribute. 3 days ago, I iced the shower water to blue-lipped and knew that he would die. It made me trip and twist up in the bath curtains. Outflowed how little I knew of him. Only then could my father's fatherhood ink my pen. And I wanted to, be special, so I did one out of the booklet too. It's called Autofiction. You watch while he, poet ape, ascends the stage to read out to a sympathetic crowd his new disease. He should say old disease, since he knew years ago he was sick and did jack shit to fix it. You see this habit he's made of arguing with himself? He submits complaints against himself, defends himself against himself. Sternly, like the parent of his 2 child selves, he begs his selves to compromise. Figure it out, you two. It comes to blows. Crohn's, eh? The specialist says. Then the resident points out ulcers in the photographs. The resident is wrong. The struggle among his innards is worse than that. Beneath his wrought heap of cells, the critic spits acid in the poet's face. The critic says, "What poet are you, ape, that in time of trouble is deaf and dumb?" The poet says, "Always you judge me." The critic says, "While you weep and twist, we drown in your sorriness. She drowns too." The poet says, "You leave her out of it." The critic says, "Now you are bare boweled. You are open to critique." The poet says, "You know in better health I would draw breath and persuade you." The critic says, "Poet, you will see no health. You are why we ache." The critic turns to the audience. "You see this poet, the child that he is, the children that he is, each beating the puffed chest of the other, such artless shames that have escaped his childhood into his life. They do not belong at the poet's dice. Well, here they are at the oak podium of the comedian. Will it please you rise? Applaud him. He, poet ape, needs you to beat your chests also at what he says, or else he will only be laughing with himself."
I'm Lucy. Thank you for waiting, staying to the end. This first poem is not in the book. It was too new, so I'm sorry. Paul Klee on George Street. By the time I'm almost home, the George Street group is is already sharing a skiff on my stoop and laughing into the blue. From the window, I can see my grandmother's footprint in Paul Cleed, the face of lines that run together like tributaries to a stream. How it must have felt when my grandfather ran his fingers down his face in the hospital light and remembered the accumulation of his years. Did he feel that everything was where it ought to be? Was everything right? Tonight, someone has made it home before me and turned the lights on, illuminating the wall where Clee's actor hangs and watches it all, his mask of obscure greens closed beneath rivers of orange. This next poem can be found on page 32 of your booklet. The point of sex. Translation is a metaphor. Metaphor is the movement of meaning and essence from one vessel to the next. I tell Mary that women aren't vessels. The point of sex is not to be filled or to be emptied. Orgasm is often miscarried by metaphor. But who carried me, transferred the meaning and marrow to my body? It takes more than one, but not yet two, to make meaning. Meaning is sense or signification. It is nothing without a vessel to inhabit. I tell Mary about the children I will someday have. The point of translation is to be filled and emptied. My children will do this to me someday, I say. Thank you.